Call the meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Milani.
Here.
Trustee Compass. Here. Trustee Reardon.
Here.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Here.
Mayor Pico.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, this works a lot better than yelling in the room to get people to be quiet.
Approval of the March 6, 2023 special meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of March 6th, 2023.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski. Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Approval of the March 6, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Radiszewski.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting on March 6, 2023.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Here. Or, aye, sorry.
Technology Commission appointment.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to advise and consent the appointment of Mike Brombach to the Technology Commission.
second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Mike, you want to come up and be sworn in? I couldn't see you behind the pole. I assumed you were here. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Having been appointed to the office of the Technology Commission in Village Laurel Park, in the counties of Cook and Will aforesaid, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Technology Commission to the best of my ability. Thank you very much. Welcome. And I want to thank Mike for stepping up to serve on the Technology Commission. As those of you here for the strategic planning know, you didn't get to hear what's all that's been done with IT, but there's been a lot done in the last 4 years with our IT department. And it seems to be a stepping stone to the board. I think we have 3 former IT Technology Commission members on the board. So be careful what you wish for, Mike.
Community Appreciation Award, Caitlyn, Brennan, and Danielle Brengel of the 100 Club of Illinois.
You want to come on up? So I would like to present the Community Appreciation Award to Caitlyn Brennan and Danielle Brengel of the 100 Club of Illinois. So Caitlyn is the Chief Executive Officer, and Danielle's the Chief Operating Officer of the 100 Club. And in recognition for all that you do to support the families of first responders that are killed in the line of duty and active duty first responders through your work, I really, really appreciate it. We all do. And I know that our chief does, and in particular, obviously our first responders do. And Rich, why don't you tell us a little bit about what they do?
Well, the 100 Club has been around since 1966 and has supported so many fallen police officers and firefighters. It's a wonderful organization. Not only are they there for the folks that are killed in the line of duty, but their families as well. They support educational costs for the people who are their surviving family members. A big thing that I realize with what they do is wellness of first responders. So the wellness of police officers and firefighters after responding to critical incidents. So these folks are phenomenal. I am incredibly proud to work with them as much as I possibly can.
And just so you know, they provide resources, they provide financial support, access to training, moral support for these families, and basically their goal is to help these families navigate the loss of a loved one, and a loved one who was serving us. I can't tell you enough about how great that is that you do that, and that you've taken the reins of an organization that's been around for as long as I've been around. So it started in 1966, and I know that unfortunately you were very heavily involved in the events in Chicago the last most recently, and thank you for all that you do. And for that, I'd like to present you with a community appreciation award. I'm going to come down and present that to you. And let's not forget, too, that I believe, and Sean, you know a little bit more about this, so I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Compass to comment on the award that you've given Rich and Leo.
So Caitlyn and Danielle, I've once said up here that the word awesome sometimes gets overused to the point where it doesn't have the same impact. What you two ladies do with the 100 Club is truly awe-inspiring in the purest sense of the word. First responders and their families are accustomed to being the ones that have to take charge and care for others in a crisis. When one of them falls, either an injury or the ultimate sacrifice to their community, you are the first responders to them, providing compassion and taking charge in their crisis. From just a fraction of what I've heard about the organization from Rich Miller, I'm amazed at the scope and responsiveness of your organization across the state. I feel safe in saying, I can speak up here for Rich, and I know Rich has already said so. I didn't know he was going to speak. He's incredibly proud that he and Leo can contribute in even a small way to the tremendous support that you provide for our fallen heroes. While we all hope and pray that your services are less frequently required, God bless you both for all that you do.
Just thank you, and thank you for the really kind words. I didn't know Rich when we were kids, but I'm from Orland. I grew up here, graduated from Sandburg. So it means a lot having an award from my hometown. My parents are still here. But thank you for all the work that Rich and Leo, Danielle would hit me if I didn't say thank you to Leo too. She's the dog person. For all that you allow them to do as the village, because they have been responders with us. They walked with us for line of duties. He was on call-outs for critical incidents. And those call-outs don't happen at noon on a Tuesday. So thank you for being there. We're very proud of what we do and proud to be able to do that across the state. So I appreciate it.
Thank you again, Caitlyn and Danielle. I can't express enough how important the work that you do is, and we really, really appreciate it. And we are also very thankful as an Orland Park family that Rich and Leo get to help you with that.
Recognition honoring Orland Park Police Chief Eric Rossi.
Hold on a second. Stand up.
He said stand up.
So, welcome back. And I hope this won't be a trend every time you leave, by the way. Oh, yeah, exactly. So I want to honor Chief Eric Rossi for his dedicated service to the department for many years. and his graduation from the FBI National Academy, and in recognition of his exemplary leadership and commitment to excellence. So congratulations for graduating the academy. We're happy to have you back, and I think no one's happier to have you back than Brian West, so he doesn't have to attend these meetings.
Mr. Chairman.
Accounts payable.
Trustee Campos.
No, I just want to add to that. Chief Rossi, congratulations on your completion of the National Academy. For those that might be as interested as I was in the Academy, you can find several videos about the Academy online. From what I saw, it's a rigorous program that challenges students not only mentally, but also physically. That PT challenge is no joke, as the chief told me. Participants come from around the world. I believe I even heard some interesting roles in the graduation ceremony, such as coming from the Interior Ministry in Bahrain, or Philippines, or Taiwan. There are also many anecdotes of how graduates of this program have effectively used their newly extended networks to the greater good of their communities. So, and although I have it on pretty good authority that the most challenging aspect might have been sharing a bathroom with 3 other gentlemen for 10 weeks. Welcome home, Chief.
Go ahead. Yep.
Accounts payable.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the accounts payable from March 7th, 2023 through March 20th, 2023 in the amount of $4,797,846.90.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas. Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Campos.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, item A, payroll for March 3rd, 2023 approval. Item B, neighborhood road improvement program proposal award. Item C, sanitary CCTV review and recommendations proposal. Item D, playground renovations, purchase and installation. Item E, elevated tank. Number 1, rehabilitation, design, engineering, and oversight proposal. Item F, Dell hardened field computer purchase. Item G, Villas of Tallgrass stormwater improvement agreement amendment. Item H, agreement with Ice Miller LLP as needed legal services. Item I, disposal of decommissioned information technology equipment ordinance. Item J, stalker radar applied concepts message board and vehicle speed radar display purchase approval. Item K, zoning map update ordinance. Item L, road improvement program construction management award. Item M, main pump station pump 3 replacement bid award. Item N, amend Title 7, Chapter 4, number of Class B liquor license ordinance. Item O, Emerald Spa, DBA Pearl Spa business license. Item P, concrete slab raising, ITB 23-022 rejection. Item Q, 4th of July and Taste of Orland stage sound and lights.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Campos.
move to approve the items on A through Q on the consent agenda.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Campos.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Demolition of 14101 and 14249 Wolf Road, ITB 23-007.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
Move to approve ITB 23-007 to Fowler Enterprises LLC for a total contract amount not to exceed $68,310, $62,100 plus a 10% contingency of $6,210, and authorize the village manager to execute all contracts, related contracts subject to village attorney review, and authorize the village manager to approve change orders not to exceed the contingency amount.
Second.
Any comments? So the one comment I'll make on these two properties that we acquired is if you go back, 2 years now? I believe it was 2 years ago when we had open lands folks from our Open Lands Commission come up here and attack our board about open lands. And to give some people a history of our open lands board was created because there was a bond that was approved by the residents of $20 million back in like 2001 or 2002 to purchase and maintain and plan for open lands. Well, the commission that was put in place, they forgot about the plan for and maintain. they just basically bought. And so they bought, they expended all of the money, and then essentially a lot of these things that we've been spending money on, like Boley Farm and all that, have come out of other sources that were supposed to come out of that 20 million. In any case, they have worked very hard to try and stop the 143rd Street project, including engaging some people from the city of Chicago Open Lands to do that, which I think was wholly inappropriate. The entire time while they were doing that, we've been trying to acquire these properties. Been trying to acquire these properties because the 143rd Street project has a large oak stand that was involved in the project. And, you know, over 100-year oak trees, which we obviously would prefer not to see taken down or destroyed. And so, unfortunately, if you publicly go out and talk about properties the village is trying to acquire, the price goes way up. So, obviously, we did not talk about it as we tried to do it. These two properties basically represent properties that we purchased, which are mostly in floodplains, so they're not all that developable anyways, if you think of the Montessori school and the property right next to it. And so we're going to demolish what's on there, and now that will be available in the future for projects for storage rather than that area of oak trees. So it's save the oak trees, basically is going to restore a wetland area, which will probably also turn into some kind of a walking trail or something as well, so it'll be an amenity for the village. But we were trying to do that the entire time. I want to thank the board for staying with it, committing with it, and also George and staff for working hard to get this done, because I know it took us well over a year to get these properties acquired. Call the roll.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Parks Administration Deck Replacement Project, ITB 23-006.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve awarding ITB 23-006, including alternates number 1 to LZ Design Build Group for a total contract amount not to exceed $90,200, $82,000 plus 10% contingency of $8,200, and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review, and authorize the village manager to approve change orders not to exceed the contingency amount.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Centennial Park West Concert Venue, 15635 West Avenue.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve case number 2022-0920, also known as Centennial Park West Concert Venue. The Plan Commission recommended action as presented in the staff report with the following amendments.
Second.
So normally, we allow speaking at the end of the meeting, you sign up and all that, but sometimes we have issues that we know people are here to speak on, and so we allow them to speak before we vote. But I am going to, before we open it up to comments, because no one has signed up, but if anyone wants to come speak. First, the rules are not the same as the Planning Commission. It is not an endless discussion. So don't expect a response from the board necessarily. It's unusual for the board to respond, number one. Number two, you have 3 minutes. So that's how much time you have to speak. And then, basically we'll hear everyone who wants to speak, and then we'll go ahead and have our discussion and our vote. Okay, so, sir, this is a board meeting. So, as I was just explaining, we're going to open it up to the public to speak. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Then our board will speak and comment if they so choose, and then they'll vote. They will not engage you. This is not a planning commission meeting. This is a board meeting. This is different. So I'm explaining how it works. So you'll have 3 minutes. So, sir, you're out of order. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, as I said. Okay? This is a board. We are the board that discusses things and votes on things. It's not a board of 100, what we talk to everybody and engage everyone. You had a planning commission meeting, which was a meeting, a public hearing, where all of these things were heard. I'm explaining to you the rules so that you understand that it's different. then it is different than a planning commission meeting. You will have 3 minutes to speak, as I was saying. So before I turn it over to all of you to speak, I'm going to comment on this a little bit, because I'm very familiar with this project. I moved into Colette Highlands in 2005. I bought in 2004. This project was approved as part of the plan for Colette Highlands in 2003, including a band shell. The park was built. Infrastructure was not put in place like it should have been, but it wasn't. But the band shell was approved and planned for a future date. So these plans have been approved since 2003. They've been part of this project since 2003. I knew when I purchased my lot in 2004 that there was a band shell going in 2005. I'm certainly the longest tenured person in single-family homes. There might be someone in the condos that's been there a little bit longer than me. But I've been there since 2005. So this project's always been planned, so this is nothing new. Additionally, I think we should point out that personally, when I ran for mayor in 2017, I ran, and this was part of the platform. 2021, myself and 3 trustees ran as part of this was part of the platform. In 2019, 3 trustees ran with this being part of the platform. So this isn't anything particularly new. We've also had, how many public meetings? 7? So we've had 7 public meetings where these plans were shown and voted on. We've had probably at least a dozen more where we've talked about things like engineering or aesthetics, or hiring the engineering firm, or hiring the planners, or hiring, so we've had these multiple meetings. Additionally, at least 3 states of the village, I've discussed this, and in 2 of those, we showed the plans. So this has been discussed many, many times. It was also, this approval right now is way, I mean, we've approved so many things before this, including paying for it, approving it in the budget twice. So we've, and that's not even including the 7 hearings where we showed the actual plans and designs. So Ray, if you would like to show the plans really quickly, and just put them up there, and I'll talk about it quickly, since I'm pretty familiar with it. The hill that's there right now, that's the buffer between Park Station Boulevard and the venue. Oh, by the way, we've held concerts there since 2011 as well. So again, nothing new. That hill is staying the same. The asphalt that's there, it's going to follow the same, basically the same outline it currently has. It's going to be expanded so that it can host, and electricity will be run so that our Taste of Orland partners that come and operate booths can operate there at the site. So Taste of Orland will move there. It's being planned. That's the biggest event that we would have there. It's being planned to accommodate that. On the other side, they're going to add a path that mirrors the path to the west. Also going to have more booths for Taste of Orland. Both sides will have some other vendor booths, as well as on the east side, you'll have some VIP booths as well. The stage will be a permanent stage. It'll be built, and I'm sure Ray will have some pictures there to show you, but so.
That's the front facade,
Okay,
back facade, that's the front.
there's a better picture than that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's the stage area.
So that shows you the stage. So dressing rooms, instead of having RVs parked back there on generators, et cetera, you'll actually have dressing rooms with restrooms. You also have a loading dock, which will come off of the current entrance that's already there. So the one thing that you'll notice relative, if you've been to concerts out there in the past, is that this stage is actually going to be a little bit further to the north than the stages where we normally place them. The other thing that when we redesigned the grounds a little bit, all the drainage issues that we've had out there will be fixed. So there's a picture of the concert, of the venue itself. If you go back to the overview. So if you're familiar with it, about where the lettering is, right there in the middle of the grass area, that's about where the hill is right now. The hill is going to actually be moved backwards, back to further to the north than the walkway that cuts east and west. So basically opening up a bit more seating, a more gradual slope, and getting rid of the hill that basically cuts the venue in half. So again, shifted to the north from what we've seen in the past as far as the actual stage, as well as the stage now, instead of being an open stage like what we have, it's going to have wings on it so that the sound travels more towards the venue and not out as much as it would currently. So, and again, a permanent venue. There's also going to be service walks behind all of the tents, so that way there's no interference between pedestrians and traffic. So otherwise, I mean, that's the basic changes to the site. So there is a fence that's on there. That fence is being approved currently, but is not being planned for currently. There'll be a fence, obviously, to protect the stage, but the other fence it's fairly expensive, and we're not sure we're going to need it on a regular basis. We may still just do temporary fencing when we have events out there. So we're going to play that one by ear because that's an easy add at a later date. So that's what that's going to look like. From a parking perspective, we have how many spots between those two? About 3,000?
And on this side, we have about 1,300, and then the additional on the other side.
Additional, how many on the other side?
In total, there'll be about 3,000 between both sides.
Right, 3,000 between the two metro lots. And if you think about that, we currently do Taste of Orland here at the Village Hall. We basically use up the entire parking area for the venue itself. The closest parking is Humphrey, and that's got about 200 spots. So everything else is wherever. So actually, the parking there is well set up to accommodate the venue. Additionally, if you recall, aside from concerts being there since 2011, we also used to hold Orland Days over there as well. So those are all events that have been held there for quite a long time. So again, this is nothing new, something that, again, we've known for 20 years. It's just a plan that's coming to fruition, and we've had multiple discussions. So tonight is the final approval of something that we've already paid for the engineering, we've already paid for the planning, we've already paid for basically everything but the actual construction. We've actually funded the construction already. So that's what this is for. It's to approve the final plan. So with that, I'd be happy to open it up. You've got, again, you have 3 minutes. If I could just ask you to state your name and your address, that would be helpful for our clerk and the minutes. If anybody wants to speak. If they don't, that's fine as well. So is there anybody that wants to speak?
My name is Anna, and I'm living at 10715 Gabriel Lane. So this is going to affect a lot the life. I mean, we bought this place. I know, I understand you said it's from 2003, but when we bought this place, we didn't know nothing about it, and we have kids. There is going to be a lot of noise. It's going to be right almost in front of our windows. A lot of, traffic. You expect this to be for 5,000 people, which is a large amount of people walking through the neighborhood. Our properties are going to go down because nobody's going to want to buy or rebuy the properties from us. Being said that we have in front of the windows such a huge place, which creates such a noise, such a great amount of people walking around, roaming 12 o'clock in the night. I mean, our life is going to be really miserable in there. So I'm not sure why he was taking into consideration building such a huge place in the middle of the residential place. There are other places nearby the parking. There is a huge area across the street of Metro on 153rd Street, where these cars wouldn't have to pass through the neighborhood so much. I mean, you just have to take into consideration that the life of all of us with this neighborhood is going to be affected by big time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I will point out that myself and Trustee Reardon both live in the neighborhood, and I'm sure we'll address all these things later. But we both live in the neighborhood, and there's been multiple concerts there, and never have had an issue. And as far as the land you're talking about, Andrew Corporation, 1, it's contaminated. 2, we don't own it. So that's not really an option. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Marie Bastick. I'm at 15630 Park Station Boulevard. right across the street, 300 feet from where the venue will be going in. Now, I didn't realize that questions couldn't be answered here, but how about if I just mention some of the things I have concerns about? The first thing is, at the last meeting that I attended, there wasn't any explanation of research that was done to similar venues to this in neighborhoods. So I did have questions about whether they had gone out and checked the neighborhoods to see what other neighborhoods had done to make sure that this implementation was going to be smooth and easy. There wasn't any discussion about the impact on the wildlife. The legal capacity for the venue was mentioned to us at 4,000. However, when you go on the website, you're finding 5,000, so I'm not really quite sure what the official venue capacity is. I know that we talked about the parking behind the stage, and it was expressed at that time there was enough parking for the band and the vendors. However, when I looked at the Taste of Orland, I noticed there was 20 vendors that had attended in the past. And when I looked online, I noticed that the parking capacity behind the stage was only for 7 or 8 vehicles. But it was expressed at the last meeting there would be plenty of parking behind the stage. So I did have a question about that. We did talk about the parking capacity in the immediate area. Metra actually has 730 parking spots. The Centennial Park has 1,044. We have Northwestern at 492 and the Village Center at 333, which brings up a total of 2,699. If we have 5,000 people at the venue, I just would want to know where the overflow would park. I know that there was an explanation that for off-street parking spaces, there was 1,000 square feet. Non-residential, I didn't know if that meant that if someone had a house in Colette Highlands and there were 1,000 square feet away from the stage, did that mean that people could park in those areas if there wasn't enough parking? These are just questions that I have. You know, it's a boulevard that's right in front of it, and we've had problems getting into our condo building in the past. So I do know that at the entrance, there will be handicap offloading, and there'll be rideshare offloading, which is actually just right across the street from us. So my thing is with the boulevard, if traffic backs up in those areas, how would emergency vehicles get in? Say somebody in the building is having a heart attack, and they need to get through that building, and the traffic is backed up. It is a boulevard. How would the emergency vehicle get in? That's just a question I have.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is up.
Oh, it's up? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Again, we don't normally address these questions, but I'm happy to address some of these questions. First off, wildlife. It's a closely mowed grass area. It's not going to have any impact on wildlife over there. Basically, there's nothing there. There's no, it's not going to impact any of what's going on over at Centennial Park or Lake Sedgwick. As far as the parking behind the stage, I think probably someone misspoke. All of our vendors will not park there during Taste of Orland. What they meant is the vendors for the concert itself will all be able to park behind that venue. For Taste of Orland, they'll load and preload before people are there, and then they have those service entrances for them to come in and out if they need to get more food, more drinks, that kind of stuff. Much like what they have now, only actually set up and planned. Right now, we use a parking lot and in the grass area in front of the Village Hall to try and manage all that stuff. So this is actually being planned for that. As far as overall parking, again, I'll go back to the biggest event we do is Taste of Orland. Taste of Orland currently has, within that distance, currently has about 220 spots over at Humphrey. And then maybe we accommodate about 20 handicap spots, I think. And then we end up having to use a field for about another 100 or so spots, and we tear up one of our ball fields. So that's what we use here, and we managed to do that without having anywhere near the parking that we have over there. So we have tons of parking there. We also have a lot of other options as far as shuttles and the like. We've held multiple events there, and traffic, and Chief, I think you can answer this. Traffic has never been, I know for me, I live there, and I walk over to the venue, and traffic's never been an issue. And we've never had a problem over in the single-family homes. We've never had anyone walking through there. We've never had any incidents, and we've had 3 concerts a year since 2019. And concerts going back to 2011 as well. But three big ones per year since 2019, and we used to have Orland Days, which was 3 days. So we had all of that. Again, this was built prior to when I moved in 2005, this was there. This isn't a surprise to anyone. If it's a surprise, then whoever sold the property to you or the realtor or whatever didn't do their due diligence. I can tell you that I knew that this was there. I think Brian knew it was going to be there. Again, unfortunately, we can't help that. As far as the boulevards go, you won't get anything from us that thinks those boulevards are a great idea the way they were built. It was planned at the time. It was maybe not the best idea in the world with the U-turn. It was meant to be traffic calming. I think to some extent that does get achieved because of those things, but that's a problem. But as far as first responders getting to anything, you will get a better response at those condos and those townhomes if we have an event than you will ever get any other time, because you're going to have first responders on site with radios right there. And I mean, they're going to be there faster than they could ever be from any other location. So you're going to have ambulances there, you're going to have police there, you're going to have all of that literally right there. And believe me, if there's an incident, they're going to go take care of the life-saving incident well before they worry about traffic control, crowd control. So, anybody else want to speak?
My name's Kathy Scanlon. I live at 15630 Park Station Boulevard. I'm in the condo on the 5th floor overlooking, I'm going to be probably 600 feet from this. I've been through the concerts. I've seen the 100 people there. I can't hear when I have my windows closed. The noise is so loud. So I want to ask, do we have any, or will you have any, or have you done any studies on the noise? Because from what I've read, it doesn't look like it's exempt from any of the performance standards with the noise. Are they going to be able to have large speakers going all the time? Our building is 65 plus. There's a family of small children just moved in next door. They didn't know. We didn't know. Nobody told us. The village has no obligation to tell any of those 600 homes anything about this. If you look on your website, I've looked at the comprehensive plan you have, your Facebook page is from 2012. I walked the village. I walked Colette Highlands. I went to Sheffield Square. Nobody knows about this. They were all in shock. They live there. We live here. These are our homes. Now, you may live 3 blocks away. We live on top of this. I don't know. I just think the transparency wasn't there for not your residents, not the 600 homes that live there. I think it's a crying shame.
Well, so I will address the transparency issue. Again, this was approved in 2003. We had 7 public meetings where we showed this. I had 2 states of the village where I showed the plan. I had 3 states of the village where I talked about it. I ran on it in 2017. I ran on it in 2021. The trustees ran on it in 2019 and in 2021. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I mean, there's been at least a dozen other meetings where this has been talked about. It's been in our newsletters, our senior newsletter, on our web. I mean, not to mention the fact that every single board meeting, when I arrived here, no board meetings were ever broadcast. No audio was ever broadcast. Since 2019, when these 3 new board members, every meeting has been broadcast live, and you could go back and look at it. So you go back and look at every single meeting. Look at all that we have here that has all this technology to get this to you. All of the newsletters, when you say we're not being transparent, we can't provide any more information. The 7 of us, there's 60,000 people. We can't knock door to door to let everyone know what's going on. We're giving you every piece of possible available information, whether it's the website, whether it's the state of the village, whether it's board meetings that are live and able to tape. So to talk to us about not having transparency, that's just, I take offense to that, knowing how much transparency we've done and how many public meetings we've had and how many different I mean, we send out newsletters, you know, our rec guide, we send out a budget and brief, we do all of these things, and these things have been mentioned multiple times.
Mr. Mayor, I moved into Orland in 2012, 2013. I moved into Colette Highlands in 2020. The two things that, since I moved in, the day I moved in, I've been hearing about, reading about, and seeing are the Triangle and Centennial Park West. Having things, you know, we talk about walkable, some urban aspects of your town. You want to bring that to a suburban town, but still have some sort of a, you know, be able to walk to different places. This is what was talked about in 2003, all the way through. When I bought my house, it was talked about what was going in there. They talked about the plans, they talked about the additional concerts. We're only talking about maybe 3 to 4 more events at night, at least, late at night, than we currently have now. And we've had no problems whatsoever. Both entrances are marked by police officers, 2 police officers on each of the 2 entrances. If there's an emergency, they're getting through. All other traffic's gonna get stopped. We've never had anybody park or walk through our neighborhood in any of those events in the 3 years that I've lived there, so.
And I think I've been to every one but one, and my family was at that one, but I just was out of town. So I've never had an issue, and I'm usually there to make till everything is at least probably 80% broken down, just because we like to talk to staff and that type of thing. So, and it gets broken down pretty quickly. So I agree with Trustee Reardon, we haven't had any issues. Anybody else?
Good evening, Board. My name is Terrence Grom, 15709 Scotts Glen in Colette Highlands Townhomes. My only concern is when the village puts on these events, there's always a great presence of security, law enforcement, traffic control, staff, et cetera. At the previous meeting, there was discussion about private use or possibly private rental. So I'm just throwing out for or if the board has considered if that same level of requirement will be, or same level of staffing requirement will be required for potential private events or other events that are held there that are not put on by the village.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I can never predict what a future board will do. None of us can speak for a future board, but I can tell you this board and our current policy is that anybody who rents that has to provide the same level. They have to have a traffic plan, they have to have security, they have to provide that, or oftentimes they sometimes contract with us to provide some of that with off-duty officers as well. So they do have to provide that. We have actually rented it before, that location for Polish Fest. So we have some experience doing that, and we had no issues whatsoever. It was actually a well-attended event that went well, and we had no issues. So that's gone, but we do require that of all, not just Centennial Park West, but all of our venues. We require the same level of security that we would require. We require anyone renting that, so that whatever facility that happens to be, to have that. Now, sometimes that's none, but if it's something larger, they're definitely required to do that. You wanted to speak?
First, I got to apologize to you because this is the first time that I've been to a board meeting in 20 years. But I'm going to tell you something, it's not going to be the last time. Since I seen what's going on here today, I seen some tremendous stuff going on by watching you gentlemen do your job. But I also seen some things that I don't think is right for the public. Did I tell you my name, by the way, is Joseph Lyman. I live at 15630 Park Station Boulevard, which is across the street from the venue. And the only couple things, you've heard pretty much what the bulk of it is. The only thing going through my mind, I sit in a meeting for an hour before that, and I'm listening about this $100,000 shortfall of money that we don't have. And then we come into this program, I'm wondering to myself, who's paying for this one? Is this a private contractor or is this the city paying for this? I don't know. Is that published? I don't read anything. You say you let people know. I didn't see anything in newspapers. Don't people send newspaper articles anymore? But I don't want to take all your time. You got my message. This is, it's very questionable. It could become a circus. And I didn't pay almost $400,000 to live next door to a circus. And I'm sure nobody's going to come behind me if it turns out to be a circus and give me what I need for my property. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your comments. So the budget, as you're talking about, so it's actually, we were talking about, we have capital projects for the next 10 years in the previous meeting, that we have about 100 million that at the present time, because we haven't looked at all of our funding options through what we project right now, we have about $100 million in projects. These projects, this project, Schuessler Park, were already part of our previous plan, and then there's more going forward. That's roads, that's parks, that's all kinds of different stuff. Some stuff that we will not do, some stuff that we will do. Those are things that boards will decide to do. As far as this is a village project, but it's also in the budget. We do send out a budget in brief. You trust me, the whole budget you wouldn't want, but a budget in brief, which has talked about this in the past, and we mail that to everybody. So we do that. As far as newspapers covering stuff, I can't help you there. I know we have a reporter here tonight, but we used to have 3 or 4 at our board meetings, and we don't anymore, and we have very few papers that cover stuff. And frankly, you know, some of the ones that do cover stuff from afar aren't really even newspapers anymore. So, and unfortunately, we can't really control that. But we do try and give everything out there. We try and put everything on the web. We try and have every meeting so that you can watch it and see it. And again, we do send the senior newsletter out. We send out the Parks and Rec guide. I know it's been in the senior newsletter. I know it's been in the budget and brief. So, you know, we try to, as much as we can, get the information out there.
I didn't use my 3 minutes. Could I just respond for a second?
Sure.
It has nothing to do with the budget anymore. It has to do with my peace and tranquility. I live on the 3rd floor, and I look out my window, and I seen these thousands of geese migrate every spring and fall. That's just gorgeous. I was telling one of my neighbors, I got a hawk that lands on my banister and stares at me. And when he gets, like, I get up and think I'm going to scare him, he don't move. But when he goes, he's got a 4 or 5 wingspan. But I only see him in the spring, so I don't know if I'm going to see him again this year. But the point is, there is wildlife being affected. And I don't know whether it affects you or not, but there is wildlife being affected.
Well, the geese won't be affected, trust me.
Yeah?
The geese don't care. The geese like low-mowed stuff, so.
You better hope they don't vote.
So.
Michael Burke, 10601 Gabrielle Lane. Mr. Mayor, I did go to the planning meetings, not all of them, and it was never mentioned. I agree. This is going to be very nice. I agreed with it. All I thought it was going to be the concerts. 3 concerts. I live right across the street. You guys, the police department did a phenomenal job. The fencing, all the entrance is over at, as you well know, by the metro station. The only entrance by my house is for handicap. Okay, my problem was at the planning meeting, the gentleman that spoke for the plans, now he's talking about the pumpkin jamboree being there, the Taste of Orland, the fireworks. There's a few others, plus it could be rented out. So basically, you could actually be affected every weekend for 6 months. And I mean, that's just, it's ridiculous to have that. And will the fence be up for all that time? You know, and if the fence is, like you just said, the one fence you want to put up, it's too expensive, you're going to look at it and you may not even have a fence. Well, you definitely need a fence because then people are just going to go walk right by your house, come down the street instead of the regular 108th or off 153rd, and they're just going to walk right through the neighborhood because there's no fence. And that's what I want you to know, that where you guys had that metro station, that entrance, that was perfect. You know, because it was only one way in, one way out. But if you don't do this every weekend, you know, I really believe you're going to have people walking through your neighborhoods. And you and the trustee, it's going to affect you. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to affect you because people are just going to walk right through and you know, that's my main thing was that we could actually have something happening for 6 months every weekend.
Thank you for your comments. As far as the fencing, the reason we're not putting that ornamental fence, one, that fence is, the reason we're not putting it in, one, there's a cost factor, but also we want to keep it an open park for our residents to use. So we don't want them to feel like it's a fenced-off area that they can't use. Now, even if we put a fence up, there'll be access points, but that's the main reason we're not putting that fence up. We think we only need it for the 3 concerts and for Taste of Orland, which we would have it for anyways. So as you can see, this is designed to handle Taste of Orland. As of right now, we already do free concerts out there. We do 3 concerts plus 2 free ones in the past. We already do fireworks over there. We do it on the other side of the tracks. It'll move to this side of the tracks because we have a stage already built. But the fireworks are still going to be in the same location. They're going to go off in the same place. They're not going off there. So it's just the venue where people go to, as far as the concert portion of it, will change. So to be close to the fireworks, you'll still be over on the other side. As far as market in the park's from 4 to 8, gets a few hundred people. I don't really see any issues there, and plus they're gonna walk over. The only people walking through our neighborhoods, I guess, my point is gonna be people who live there and are walking across the street from Summer Glen, because they're gonna park over at the Metro. There's no benefit to walking through our neighborhood because the closest parking they're gonna have is over at the Metro station, which is kind of how it's gonna be designed. So what you're really gonna have is the 3 concerts we already have. Well, like you said, we don't have problems with that, and the biggest event we're gonna have is Taste of Orland. And the benefit of having done those 3 concerts for multiple years is we have a pretty good feel. We learned, like you do with anything, and we adjusted some of our plans, and I think we feel pretty confident now that we can, host these things without any issues. And I feel very confident. I haven't had any issues in my neck of the woods at all. And I'm not 3 blocks away. I'm 5 houses away from the condos.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just add, I agree. If there's neighbors that can walk, it's walkable distance, I have no problem them walking through my neighborhood. If they're over on like Summer Glen, the neighbor across the street, the neighborhood.
Yeah, they're going to go down the walkway anyways.
Exactly, even if they do on a night of a concert and they, people that can walk and are not parking in my neighborhood, I don't see that being a problem. And the second thing I think you pointed out that we are definitely mindful of, especially people who live there, is we'll adapt. If something happens and we see that we need to have a different flow or we need to have the police have a different plan, we're certainly willing to do that, I think. I don't think it's set in stone exactly how we're going to do it. And the rental thing is another big thing that was brought up to some of my neighbors. And the fact that we're going to require them to come up with the plan and the security, it's really going to keep out some, kind of fly-by-night, someone just wants to rent it, without any planning. They got to have a pretty substantial plan and cost, financing to it to be able to do it. So I think we're safe in that area as well.
And like you mentioned, the Pumpkin Festival, that's a daytime event with kids. To me, it's a great location to do that, right? Instead of having them run all over our baseball fields and now we have to get them ready for baseball again, or potentially damaging them. This is designed for that. So those types of events, and again, it's a daytime event with families just from Orland Park. This is not something that's going to draw people from all over Illinois. So, we obviously want to use it as much. We're putting money into it. We want to use it as much as we can. We also are mindful of the fact that, there can be too much of a good thing, and we can never control what another board does, but I don't think there's any desire. I don't think our staff could handle more events than we currently do in Orland Park. We do so many. So the big one that's going to move there is Taste of Orland. That's the big one, frankly. And like I said before, we used to do Orland Days over there. But that's the big one. And the market on the park, that's 4 to 8 every Thursday. And it's going to be a great venue for that. It's what, about 500 people come to that. So that should not have much of an impact whatsoever. Any other comments? Board, any comments? Anyone? So, obviously my position, I'm very supportive of this project. I think most of the board, everyone on the board is, because we all kind of ran on this project. I think the staff, I want to thank you guys for doing such a great job. And I do know that some people feel like we weren't, that this wasn't transparent, but I know we had meetings over in the Civic Center for the master plan. We talked about all this. We got input. We did a whole survey of the whole town. I think we had how many people? About 3,000 people that responded to that survey, which is a very big response. So staff, you've gone, and we knew these were big projects, this and Schuschler Park. That's why we did it. But you guys did a phenomenal job of reaching out and getting input from people and getting input from the board over time, because this has morphed slightly over time. So thank you very much. Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
An ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 9, Section 7 of the Orland Park Village Code regarding parking restrictions, amended ordinance.
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending Title IX, Chapter 9, Section 7 of the Orland Park Village Code requiring or regarding parking restrictions.
Second.
Any comments? Just so everybody's aware, and thank you everyone for speaking on that issue. Everyone's aware on this one. This is a parking over on 70th Court on the other side of Harlem, over in a business district. Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Truck route award and overweight and oversized permit fee study, RFP number 23-018 award.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Radiszewski.
I move to approve the truck route and overweight and oversized permit fee study to Syntec Engineering of Itasca, Illinois, for an amount not to exceed $79,904, and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any comments? So this truck route study is basically to study our roads to see, what the regulations are, which state, which is county, what's permitted, what level they're built at to handle the trucks, because we're seeing more and more trucks coming through town, and we're trying to understand what we can control and what we cannot. And so we need to understand that first before we can make those decisions. Call the roll.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas. Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Census Analytics Hosting, Saas, and Support Services.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the Census Analytics Hosting, SAAS, and Support Services through 2026 in an amount not to exceed $372,207, and I move to authorize the village manager to execute the necessary contracts and documents subject to the village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas. Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye, and just so people know, that was that's for software that allows us to automatically read the water meters instead of having to go read or in person.
IMRF investments discussion.
So I wanted to bring this to the board floor because Silicon Valley Bank that occurred, the failure that occurred, what I found out last week is the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund had $8.2 million invested in that bank. And I find it appalling that the state continues to mismanage our pensions. The IMRF is the most well-managed pension only because they require the municipalities to fund it, and so they never let the municipalities skip out of that. So they've been, excuse me. Thank you. So it's funded at, roughly 90%, and now they just lost $8.2 million. Now, about 4 years ago, when we had a discussion here where the state decided that they would start allowing the pension funds to invest in venture capital because they're so broke, they're just gambling with our money. It is absolutely unacceptable that the state does this. It is unacceptable that we have a member of Congress that represents half of this town that sits on the Financial Oversight Committee and does absolutely nothing about this, and did nothing about Sam Bankman-Fried either, as well. it's absolutely unacceptable that this is going on. It impacts our employees because they're all in IMRF, but ultimately it's going to impact the taxpayer because they're going to raise our percentage that we have to contribute to make up that shortfall. So all of us that pay taxes in the state of Illinois are going to get screwed because of more mismanagement. If anybody else would like to comment.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
A couple days ago, we went over the cash and investments here at Orland Park, and with Kevin and Chris in the finance office, and we made sure that we were insured on all of our deposits. There were some investments, and there's some CDs at BMO Harris that I thought might be over the thing, but they're specifically, those CDs are insured on a separate contract. So I feel like we've done our due diligence with making sure that everything is secure here in the village. Why can't the state do some sort of, I just can't believe that they've lost that money with that. They've got 1,000 more accountants than we do. They've got 1,000 more paid consultants than we do. I don't know why they can't keep it safe. Thank you.
Anyone else? Something I think we should consider for the future is some sort of a resolution, but let's think about what that is and potentially put it on the board floor for that. But this, I just cannot believe the continued mismanagement of all of our pensions here in the state of Illinois. And you know, my other question is how many other, we know the IMRF did it. The next question is what other funds did that and lost money? So, all right, we can move on.
Household hazardous waste events.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the household hazard waste event with Orland Township Highway Department, Heritage Environmental Service, Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to recording village attorney review.
And what this is it's a drop-off household hazardous waste. We're partnering with the Township Highway Department, so we're helping them out, you know, working with another taxing body. We obviously do pick up at the door. If you call, we can do that here in Orland, but Orland Township residents don't necessarily get that. So, so there'll be more opportunity to get rid of some of your hazardous waste. And obviously, we're handling all the EPA issues and everything. We're making sure that all that stuff is done the way it's supposed to be done. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
An ordinance amending Appendices A and B to ordinance number 5774, Second Amendment.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled Ordinance Amending Appendices A and B. It's ordinance number 5774, Second Amendment.
Second.
Any comments? This is just a title change because we think that the title that's out there is very difficult to get people to apply to. It doesn't actually change any pay or any responsibilities, just a title change. Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Any more non-scheduled citizens and visitors?
Anybody else to speak on any other topic? Okay.
Board comments.
Board comments. Trustee Compass.
So tonight, I'd like to thank Deputy Chief Brian West. While Chief Rossi was away having his mind and body sharpened for 10 weeks, DC West took the helm. As you know, fairly recently promoted Deputy Chief himself, I can only guess at the amount of stress that he had to take on for the new accountability during this period. And from what I observed personally, he rose admirably to the task. So he's to be well commended for stepping into your shoes, Chief Rossi. I'm sure, however, that he's very relieved to see you now back home, if for no other reason he doesn't have to attend and listen to us for several hours. I also thought about how these challenges are typically passed on. I think about the ice bucket challenge. So Chief Rossi, I'm wondering if DC West is the next for the Yellow Brick Road challenge. Lastly, in closing, I'd like to remind everyone that early voting began today. For all those listening, please vote. There's no greater weight to your individual vote than there is in a local election. However, if you're hearing me say this, you're probably already and certainly already know as you pay close attention to local government. So I would ask that you please remind your friends and neighbors to vote. That's it for me. Thank you.
Trustee Malani.
Well, thank you for everybody that came and spoke tonight. We appreciated all your comments and feedback. Little something that I read in our recent briefing goes back to our Special Recreation Department and our Lady Owls. They went out and they played at the Special Olympics State Basketball Tournament in Bloomington. And unfortunately, they came up short of their state title, but they came home with silver medals. But most importantly, as I look at this picture, they're celebrating with their Shamrock Shakes after their grueling battle in basketball. But what I notice are all the smiles on their faces. And you know, our special rec team and all the people that help volunteer for that, that's what it's all about, you know, and seeing the smiles on these kids' faces is just amazing. So I appreciate everything that you guys do. It wouldn't be a meeting without me mentioning the Charcuterie and Wine event coming up on April 22nd. We're almost sold out. Make sure you get your tickets now. And the Lucky Egg Hunt is Saturday, April 1st at 10 a.m. So we hope to see you out there and enjoy watching the kids hunt for Easter eggs. So thank you all for coming and have a great night.
And again, from those of you from the south side of Chicago, that's the meat and cheese event.
No, we're domesticated now. It's charcuterie and wine.
Trustee Katsinas.
Just a reminder, with waste management in the Village of Orland Park, there's curbside cleanup the week of April 10th. So go to our website to see what items they will pick up. Also, I just wanted to give a shout out to our Highway Township Commissioner, Antonio Robino, who approached the village back in January to host a household hazardous waste event that is going to be taking place May 20th from 8 to 3 in our Civic Center parking lot. Check our website if you didn't miss those dates and see what is allowable. But there's a lot of stuff you could really get rid of that you couldn't do with your regular garbage. So great time to spring cleanup. And thank you, Highway Commissioner Antonio Rubino.
Trustee Rudin.
I too want to thank everybody for.
Okay, Trustee Radiszewski.
Well, you were looking at me.
You could be. Go ahead, though.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Trustee Radiszewski. Go ahead. We'll just go that way.
Sorry, talking out of turn. No comments.
That's all right. You got it. Go. Since you want the floor so bad. you can have it.
Congratulations, Chief Rossi, and thank you for everybody for the comments that you had this evening. And I also wanted to thank all the directors for the presentations that you did during the COW meeting today. I know it's a lot of work. Share that information, the SWOT analysis. It's important for us to make decisions moving forward. And I finally know how to say charcuterie, and I didn't know how to say that before, so thank you, Mike. That's it.
Trustee Healy.
Being the history buff, I'd like to.
Oh, boy.
I'd like to acknowledge the 3 birthdays that occurred today. One is, I think these are close to the mayor's heart, but Ozzie Nelson and Fred Rogers were both born on today, as well as this is the birthday of the Republican Party in 1854. So, the Republican Party today. Right. So there's probably a wild celebration somewhere out there for that. With tonight, my thoughts go with go back to Christianity. We have Lent, where we sacrifice for 40 days, and maybe you give up candy, you give up beer or something, and after 40 days, you think, boy, that's tough sacrifice and all that. And then you look at the 100 Club and you look at the Veterans Organization and you realize that their sacrifices go longer than 40 days. They last a lifetime. And I just recommend everybody say a prayer for all those police, firemen, and as well as the veterans. Thanks.
Trustee Reardon.
going last, you hear a lot of things that you were going to say. I want to definitely thank the directors as well. I had a great meeting with Ray on Parks and Rec. It was very interesting to learn. I think we can find ways to spend that 19 million that you and Joel are saving us with Ray's dreams over there. That was a lot of fun. I too want to thank the Illinois Club. My family here, our Chicago police history in my family, cousins, grandfather, and those are great organizations. In today's day and age, unfortunately, their services are being needed way too often in terms of what's going on. So I do appreciate them. And then just the last thing about this, about the Centennial West, I know most of the people who spoke have left now, but this is a great project for the village. It's been along for around a long time, but if you think about it outside the box of living right there, it's a great, fantastic, opportunity for us in the whole South Side to be a place where people can come. And so, I took some classes in public administration, and it's the NIMBY effect. It's like not in my backyard. If you took any of these people and took them, a mile away, they would say this is a great thing for the town. And yes, there might be some inconveniences, and I'm going to probably experience some of those. But for the benefit of the village, it's a no-brainer, for us on the board, because first of all, it happened well before any of us were involved. And we're just trying to steer it through these last few stages and making it, as best we can. So I appreciate the concerns of the people that live close by, but this is something very good that is finally coming to fruition for the village. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and for those of you who stuck around, I also want to thank everyone who came out tonight, was respectful and spoke. And I will tell you that you're more likely to get engagement from the board and answer your questions if you're respectful, because we don't always get respectful when people come up and speak. We get, more yelling and things like that, and then there's no real point for us to engage. So we appreciate that, because it allows us to have a better dialogue with you. So that's great. Like Trustee Reardon, I live over there by Centennial Park West. I think it's going to be great. I too take myself out of, I live next to it. I truly have always looked at this project as is this great for the village, and is it good for the village? I've never really thought about my own personal, the impact on me, and frankly, the village has done a great job of keeping the impact to a minimum for the people that live there, and we will continue to do so. So I think it's a great project, much like Schuessler Park, which was approved just a short while ago. That's a fantastic project as well. So it's good that we're in a position where we can do that. Also tonight, for those of you who got here early, you got to hear about during the committee of the whole, when we talked about park renovations, where we just approved 6 more park renovations. That's going to make 26 of them since 2019, on top of John Humphrey, on top of Schuessler Park, and on top of Centennial Park West. So you think about that, we got to do our 3 biggest parks and 26 others, so that's great work. Also, the road improvement program, we got to 8 more areas, and we actually came in under budget, so we'll probably be able to add 1 or 2 more. So we've done a great job. We've improved the PCI rating, which is how they rate these roads and measure them, by 20%. We went from 48, I think, to 59, and the goal was to get to close to 69. And I think we might even be able to exceed that, because as we've talked about, not necessarily here, but we bought a hot patching machine, which will allow our potholes to be a better repair, and should also improve our road conditions even better. So great work on all of that stuff, because let's face it, at the end of the day, we pay a lot of taxes, and we'd like to have nice roads to drive in. We'd like to have nice parks to go to and be able to enjoy stuff, right? I mean, we don't think about, no offense, Kevin, we don't think about finance. No offense, Nabia, we don't think about comms. We do, but the average resident doesn't. They just want the information from comms. They don't think about how it gets there. They don't think about the IT and all the work that needs to go on here. But what do they think about? They think about our roads. They think about our water system. They think about our parks, the things they deal with every day. And, we're doing a great job on all that. So I greatly appreciate all the hard work from staff on getting all that stuff done. Some other reminders on the election. I want to thank George and Scott in Dennis's place, Scott Euler, our attorney, or one of our attorneys, for doing a fantastic video on the referendum. Very factual. It just answered people's questions. That's our job as the village. We all have personal opinions. You can get those outside of here, but we are giving you the facts, because you need to be informed. Make an informed vote. And the village has a duty to give you the facts. So that's what they did. So thank you very much on that. And again, a reminder that the Easter egg hunt's coming up, and then right after that, the ball fields start opening. So we'll start to see kids out there playing in the freezing cold in April. So thank you all for coming tonight, and I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Campos.
I move to go into executive session for A, approval of minutes, B, setting a price for sale or lease of village property, C, security procedures to respond to a danger to the safety of the public, or village staff or property.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Campos.
Aye.
Trustee Milano.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pica.
Aye.